All right, welcome back to BuffaloPlus.com and our YouTube page, Buffalo Plus. Mike Catalana. I'm Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates with a Veterans Night off, but let's get into it because we know the talk in the NFL. J.J. Watt was given the option. He's leaving Houston. He is now a free agent. Mike, what do you think about him and his addition if he could come to the Bills?
Look, he's a guy you got to look into, right? I mean, we got done looking at this past season, watching the AFC Championship game, and we know they need an impactful player on the defensive line. And then here's J.J. Watt out there, the first ballot Hall of Famer, a guy who's made All-Pro 5 times, firsthand in the playoff game a couple of years ago when J.J. got going. The pressure on Josh Allen was all over the place.
Yeah.
Then the question is, can you make it fit? Like, I don't think there's any question they will. Right. Brandon Beane's been on the phone with his agent. I'm speculating.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it. Then the question is, Jenna, can you make it fit? Does it make sense to make it fit? Is that the type of move you want to make? Because, the Bills have some issues to look at, certainly salary cap wise.
Yeah, I think it's so funny after we talk about Matt Milano and will there be enough money? And then now it's like, we got to sign J.J. Watt. Like, plenty of Bills fans are talking about we need a deal to get done. But I think when you look at the upside, it's obvious why so many fans are clamoring for it. And I think you're right. I mean, if Brandon Beane doing his due diligence, he is on the phone, making sure, seeing what that number is. And it's interesting, DraftKings put it out there that the Bills had the third best odds to land him. And while it would be cool, I'm sure, for him to go to Pittsburgh, play with his brothers, but I mean, at his point in his career, he's going to be 32. I think, of course, you want to win. You want to win, and you can come to a team like the Bills that are looked at as Super Bowl contenders, not just in Western New York, obviously, but around the country. I'm curious, though, Mike, like how much does the injury history, I mean, we talk so much about Matt Milano and the injuries. How much does that kind of factor in as well?
It does. But at this moment, I mean, he did play 16 games last year.
Yes.
And he's had some serious injuries. There's no doubt about it, but the guy keeps himself in great shape. And I think what makes him impactful is the big plays that he makes.
Yeah.
Bills fans will remember E.J. Manuel near the goal line. And there he is taking it for a touchdown, the strip sacks, the big plays, the game-changing plays. And honestly, I think that's what the Bills lacked on the line last year. And as good as Jerry Hughes was, they didn't have those plays out of that. So I think you'll be getting that. Are they taking a chance? Absolutely. The Matt Milano one is interesting just because you're talking about committing to him for a period of time. You're talking about that position too, at linebacker as opposed to the defensive line. But look, we don't know. I just looked it up. I mean, J.J. Watt, salary-wise, has made $100 million in the NFL.
Yeah, he's made a lot of money.
Okay, so he can make decisions not solely based on his salary with the team. Now, that's easy for me or you to say because we're not the person getting the salary.
Yeah,
but he can say, I'm going to take less. And you mentioned Pittsburgh. If he really wanted to play with his brother, I mean, he could play for the veteran minimum if he wanted to. I mean, I think he can afford it. But then the question is, are there other places, he would want to go? A lot of people speculate on Green Bay. The guy played at Wisconsin. He grew up in Wisconsin.
True. Yeah.
I'm going to guess he probably was a Packers fan growing up. I'm sure he knows Aaron Rodgers. He could get in on those State Farm commercials because he likes commercials. So, I just think that you put him on the team, the Bills are a better team. There's the simple answer. Then the question is, can you make it fit and does it make sense?
I feel like for that to happen, for it to work, first of all, just thinking about J.J. Watt, Jerry Hughes, and Ed Oliver, Bills fans must be going absolutely crazy. But I think you would have to have cuts in terms of Mario Addison or Vernon Butler or guys like that to save some money. But I don't know. I look at it too in the point of, if I were J.J. Watt, I would want to be close to family. But I actually look at it in terms of the Steelers, the Bills, in my opinion, are in a better spot.
Yeah.
You look at how, and I know they had a great record last year, but obviously they did not perform well in the playoffs. It kind of all fell apart. What's the status of Big Ben going forward? Now he is in the later part of his career. It's not like he has to wait and see okay, for the next 10 years, what's it going to be like for my position? But no, I think this is the first time I can really remember at least with this, of like the Bills really being one of those top teams that immediately, not just people in Western New York are saying, like Daniel Jeremiah saying, I think he would be a great fit with the Bills. This is really the first time I can remember that.
That's a great point. Back when the Bills were good, there was no real free agency. I mean, it was really sort of just started at that weird plan B thing. You weren't in that spot. Would the Bills have been there then? Yeah. You know, and good players came to the Bills in different ways. But you're right. Even Stephon Diggs, while he loves Buffalo, I refer to him as the unofficial head of the Chamber of Commerce because he's already reaching out. What did he say? Something about, hey, big fella?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was
But he reached out to Watt already. Yeah. But the truth is, Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't love it. Doesn't mean in a free agent setting he wouldn't have looked at Buffalo. Yeah, because they were getting better, but he got traded there. You're right. As a free agent, as a guy who, I'm not saying J.J. Watt has a choice of 30 teams in the NFL. That's silly to say. Not every team would go after him, but it's 20. Yeah. I mean, I think 20 teams at the right price are going to want J.J. Watt. Yeah. At the right deal. I mean, he can still play. So, yeah, you're right, Jenna. It's changed. It's changed now. They are a great culture with a quarterback and a winning atmosphere, and they're close. So
they are close.
They
and
check
that pass rush is a piece, and that pass rush is a piece of how we talked about they need to do something at. Stephon Diggs tweeting out earlier on Friday at JJ Watt, just hear me out real quick, big fella. Man, he just seems funny too.
Yeah,
I mean that is pretty funny. But obviously a lot of people liking that tweet, retweeting that, but. Yeah. I mean, I think it says something too that Stephon, I mean, look, we know Stephon Diggs is well documented that he's loved his time in Western New York, but I think that piece of it too, of like having a guy like that being like, hey man, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to think about. I loved it here. What about it, big fella?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that has an impact on players around the league.
Yeah.
There was a time, you know, when Mario Williams came to the Bills from the Texans, he was just looking to get paid and buy his fiance a massive ring, right? And buy some more cars. And that was a big deal because they just overpaid and got him. And he was an effective player for them. The team just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But Mario wanted to get paid and he got paid. Okay, so that's fine. When T.O. came to the Bills, no one wanted him at that moment. And he picked the Bills and it worked out fine for that year. But it was, you know, it wasn't because they were good. They're good now. They're good, and I definitely think they're on the radar. And then the question is, when you look at it, Jen, I was looking through the money. You know, Starr comes back next year. Big cap number. In terms of guys you would move on from. They're not. Most of those other guys you mentioned, the dead cap hit is relatively small. The guys who don't have a small cap hit are guys like A.J. Epinesa, you drafted, Ed Oliver, who you drafted. And you know who does is Jerry Hughes. Now, I don't think there'd be any particular reason to do that, but I would throw that out to Bills fans. Are you ready for that? Yeah. Do you want to move on from Jerry and bring in J.J. Watt? Yeah. You know, Jerry is a incredibly well-respected player in that locker room who was effective. So I don't know if that gets you what you want if you make that move, but they would definitely have to do some things. And the other part I wanted to mention was it is your defensive line. You know, you this is not your O-line where 5 guys play. This is your D-line where 8, sometimes 9 guys.
It's like a hockey shift sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you need the depth. You need those players that come in and out. But you also need the number one, and he can be that guy.
They've also sunk a lot of money into the D-line, though. And I think that's why maybe the frustration would be because we obviously didn't see, I think the Bills had 38 sacks this past season, which was very middle of the road in terms of the NFL. And again, we talked about how sacks in terms of stats aren't always an indicator of like getting pressure on the quarterback, but I don't think it's any secret that the Bills would want to get more pressure, more disruption up the middle.
You're right. I mean, did you watch in the games and think, man, they're so close to this and so close to that? No, I don't believe they weren't just a team that didn't get the stats. They were the team that did not get the pressure and didn't get it with 4. And there is There's, Houston plays more of that 3-4. There's people that believe in that defensive scheme he fits better.
Mm-hmm.
While I agree that there are certainly elements to that, I think J.J. Watt could play in the 4-3.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be handcuffed.
Yeah,
in the 4-3.
JJ, go get the quarterback. I think he can do that.
Yeah, I feel like he can follow those directions.
Yeah.
I mean, it is cool to see though how, when we saw the news earlier today of JJ, making that statement saying he's going to be gone from the team, and just the immediate impact of like, I felt like it was, have you seen that video that's like everyone at Thanksgiving dinner and they're like all getting up like, oh my God, it's happening. Like, it's kind of that of, and I know we talked about it on earlier videos, like obviously you would love to have a guy like JJ Watt. Can you make the numbers work? But I just think it's kind of to take a step back for Bills fans and be like, we're a part of this conversation. I feel like that's got to be pretty cool.
And I don't know, in many cases, whoever's out there was going to go to the New England Patriots, right? They wanted their Lifetime Achievement Award and they go sign with New England. Well, I don't think I really don't see that happening. Not right now. Now, could he go to Miami? Could he go to the Jets? Absolutely. The Jets have money. They're changing things around. It's easy for other people to say, why would he go there? I don't think J.J. Watt would really mind being in New York City. He does like seeing himself on camera. He does have an ego. He does. There's plenty of subways, and I don't mean the trains. I'm talking about Subway, right? Isn't it Subway? He and the whole family do the commercial for it.
Yes, that's true.
I think even New York City.
Skechers too. The Skechers, man.
Isn't he too young to wear Skechers? Tony
Romo had the Skechers commercial.
They must pay a lot of money.
I was like, whoa, those are.
By the way, JJ's a year younger than Jerry Hughes.
Well, I knew they were very
close in age.
Yeah.
So he'll be 32, I think, in March. But look, and then I don't know how a deal would be structured. He's made $20 some odd million in terms of signing bonuses when he's gotten them. He got a bonus, then they added part of it as a restructured bonus. I think was basically $20 million. He got $6 million in the beginning. He's a free agent now. Now, my guess is if you would have traded for him, you would have restructured his deal. There would have been a bonus involved too, right? If it would have been with the time left. But he's being released, so it's a new deal for him, and he's free now. Yeah. And I read that he wants to wait through the weekend. He's also going to want to get recruited.
Well, that's the cool, like the fact that he is completely free, he can really wine and dine, and he can sign before the new year starts on March 17th. Yeah. But like, what's the rush if I were him?
I would agree with you, but I think he gets a deal done by the beginning of next week.
Beginning of next week.
Yeah. Like I think he gives himself, I think he'll know by Sunday where he's going.
Okay.
And it'll be announced in the beginning of next week, only because teams they can make the money right now. Like we've seen it. Teams are going to start releasing other guys. They're going to free up money for whatever their plans are to get ready for free agency. Mm-hmm. Well, do it now.
Yeah.
Do it now. And on the other part of this, it obviously signals they're going to trade Deshaun Watson. I mean,
I feel
you would think after a while, you're like, okay, are you really going to do this? However it got to this point, you have to rebuild that team. I joke that the Texans are now the first franchise to ever be considered an expansion franchise twice. Okay? Because they are. I mean, they're starting from scratch again. I feel for their fans. I really do, because they had talent and they're going to end up shipping it all out of town. I could see JJ, even Hopkins, but Hopkins was tied to Watson. Yeah. And you've alienated your quarterback. So that'll be the next step. And that's where Bills fans have to worry about the Jets. And the Dolphins. But with JJ, they're going to make a play for him. They're definite. And right now, since he's free, if Micah Hyde wants to get on the phone and call him up, I don't think that's normally what happens unless you're friends. Yeah. But I'm picking Micah Hyde out as a guy who's been around, or someone who has connections with him. You can do that because he's a free agent now. He's officially released.
Yeah. Yeah. Hence why there's the tweets and all of that out there. There's the legal tampering or whatever, that the pre-period before the signing. I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah, legal tampering, I think is what they call it. I think the NBA calls it that. I think the NFL just calls it cheating, right?
Hilariously ironic names around the board.
But I will say this too, Jenna. The move by Diggs elevated the Bills from good to really good. Yeah. And so the immediacy of winning now in Brandon Beane's mind is ramped up. I mean, I know they still have their plans, 3 years, 5 years, whatever's in their head. It's 2021 in the NFL, man. You go for it when you can without being reckless. And I think they'll try. I think they'll try. I don't know if they can make it happen. And he has to want to come to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And we have no idea what he really thinks about that. But you're right. You said it at the beginning. It's cool that the Bills are in this conversation.
They really are. It is. It is. So we'll see. I mean, not hopefully, but maybe by next week we'll have more clarity. And Brandon Beane is going to try and wheel and deal, though. Like, that is what we have seen from him. We've seen him be aggressive. I know we talked about how earlier on in the offseason, like, there's not going to be any big blockbuster moves, blockbuster trades, but he's on the phone right now because the impact that JJ Watt could have. And then how, like, it's cool to see a guy like that in the ties to Western New York and what that would mean. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it pans out. But we're going to wrap it up here. We'll have plenty more Bills coverage for the entire offseason. But for Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. We will see you later on next week. Thanks for watching.